Hi, welcome back. Welcome back to me anyway. So we're still counting ballots. Apparently, there were record numbers of mail-in ballots. Rad. I'm hoping there's like a record voter turnout this year. I mean, like really like hardcore, like 90% of registered voters vote sorts of things. That's kind of the hope and dream of it. I mean, I highly doubt we'll get that level of turnout, but that'd be pretty damn rad with it. Um, anyway, man, it's like I'm pretty certain I did win. Granted, I haven't been watching any of the poll stuff, but the only names I've heard so far have been Biden, Trump, Biden, Trump. Haven't heard my name in there, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that I didn't win. So, operating under that assumption for the time being, let's go with this. Um, yeah, kind of hard to address it. It's like, how do you address a concession speech when you don't actually know who's won yet? But, this one's going to be a little less emotional than the 2016 one. If you saw that one, probably not. Um, all right, so the concession. Uh, Mr. Biden, if you won, or if you lost, I don't really know. Regardless, man, if you got the job, I hope you do it well. Still think that Miss Harris would have been a better pick as the primary. I don't know. Me, I say go big or go home. If I were in your guys' shoes, I would have went with Harris Warren. I know I've said that before, but seriously, no offense, sir. It's just you've been in the game a hell of a lot longer than I have. And yeah, time to let some other folks try their hands on the reins, so to speak. Um, Mr. Trump, President Trump, uh, current President Trump. Can't say that. That's inappropriate. Yeah, that's the thing, man. See, what would I say if I won? That's the crazy part. What would happen if I did actually win? What would I say to that? You guys are crazy. Number one, that would be the first thing. And if there's anybody out there that's actually like shown any sort of real support in that regard, I appreciate it. I really do. I know I'm not great at showing it. I'm not really great at showing appropriate emotion a lot of the time, mostly because dark humor sort of thing. Here's the thing: people actually did feel like I was the type of person that would be able to do this kind of job. Actually thought that I would be the person to do the job. I'd do the job. I'd do it to the best of my abilities. The thing is that the road that got us here, regardless of win or loss, hasn't been an easy one. My generation has been in a state of war essentially since we got out of school. Kids from the 60s had a similar experience, I think. Kids from the 70s and 80s, you guys have seen small scale conflicts and 90s as well, I guess. There was a period where America wasn't at war, or at least not at like direct war. It was very brief. Basically, 1980 to 1986 or some nonsense like that. Thing is that our generation, my generation, the millennials, have not known an adult life without America at war. That would be my goal. Not to run away from the conflicts, so to speak. Not to stand up for what's right, to stand up for what's right, but not to win wars, not to retreat from wars, but to end them. Like actually get to the point of ending the war, finding a peace, finding a lasting peace, something that everybody can agree on. I know that like as the world looks at the way that it is now, the way that it has been, it seems impossible. It really does. But you got to keep in mind, humanity's been around for thousands of years, regardless of your perspective, be it religious or scientific. I'll leave it at that for the time being. Me personally, I lean towards the science perspective. Um, but humanity's been around a long time. And America is still a young country, a young nation. It's a young nation that's being built out of the ruins of two nations, several nations. Native nations that were here before the colonization, nations that came as colonizers, and the nations that came as refugees. It's what makes up America. The thing about America is that we're all kind of adrift, or at least the people that brought us here were adrift. Either because their home was taken from, they were set adrift, they fled their homes, or were forced out of their homes. But they all ended up here in America. The thing is all of the old world problems came with us. All of the old world problems still exist to one degree or another. That's kind of where we're at in history, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody in between. Is that we're at a turning point in history. Where we can actually end these conflicts. Saying that there will never be violence in the world, that's not a promise anybody can ever make. But finding a way to make it manageable, to keep the innocents out of the line of fire. I mean, arguably, that's what a lot of these wars have started or continued for, is because innocent people were put in the way on either side. You know, that's our job, is to end the war of terror, the war between the religions, to move forward, build forward. Because I mean, one thing that this pandemic has shown us as a nation is that there are a lot of things that still need fixed. But the other thing the pandemic has shown us as a nation is that everybody out there, regardless of religious stance, gives a crap about something. You know? The disease is not something that you can fight with bombs and guns. The disease is something you have to fight through medicine and care and creating healthy living for people. You know? That's kind of the thing. That's the fight. The other fight that we have is against nature herself, or the world itself. The climate is changing. Nobody can say that it isn't. I know I've said it before, and we're going to say it again. Moses was arguably the first climate change scientist. If you think about it, in the Bible itself, it says nobody can hear the word with their own ears, right? Sort of thing. So if Moses couldn't actually hear the word of God with his own ears, and it came upon the angels to bring him that message, how were the angels sending that message to a man of faith and a man of observation? The climate changed, the world flooded. Noah and the people that listened to him survived. We're at another point like that. Am I saying that we're looking at an event on that sort of scale? Maybe, you know? But the climate is changing. And if you look around, I mean, the signs are all there. We are in a garden. The world is our garden. America, this nation, is a beautiful example of that. It's our job, it's our responsibility. Be you Christian, be you Muslim, be you any of the other hundreds of religions that are represented in this nation. That is the one thing that everybody agrees on, is that we are supposed to be the stewards of this world, that we are responsible for maintaining it. You know, with the abundance of energy, the industrial revolution, and the madcap pace of getting to where we are now technologically and as a world civilization, as a nation, we got here fast. And even though the climate arguably would have changed without our influence, we cannot deny that our influence has instigated and accelerated those changes. So that's kind of the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between. Let's not forget that all people are created equal. All people are created equal. That's the idea. That's what we're trying to build here. It's a place where everybody's equal, right? That's the goal. And as healthy competition breeds innovation. But the goal is to survive the things that Mother Nature is throwing at us, to keep ourselves from killing one another, and to find some way of balancing our impact on this world versus the long term effects it's going to have for our children, our grandchildren, and the generations that come after them. Because if we don't do our jobs as stewards now, our messes and the messes of the generations that helped us get to this point in history, those future generations may not have a world to live in. So, if I were elected president, if I had been elected president, over the next few months, I'd be taking care of myself physically, pulling together my team, generating our strategy for the first few months as a unit rather than just me coming up with a bunch of madcapped ideas. And then when we hit the floor Jan 1, 8, whatever, whenever inauguration is. Anyways, when we hit the floor in January, we'd be ready to work. Get to business. Start talking to the folks that nobody really wanted to talk to or work with before. No disrespect for our allies, and we will continue to support you to the best of our abilities. Well, the thing is I would argue before the United Nations that the American focus with such a large, we outspend the next 26 nations in our military budget. I would argue that the American military focus needs to be on the worst affected places. I'm not talking about going in, fire and brimstone, taking objectives and winning the battlefield. Talking about getting medicine in and out, securing supply lines for civilians, getting those that want to get out of the line of fire to somewhere safe until the firing or until the shooting is done. Those sorts of things. There are genocides taking place around the world. And even though we can't go in there and be like, you guys just need to get along, we can at least get the people that don't want to or can't fight out of harm's way. Unless we're running short on food right now as a nation, I know there's hungry people still in our country. That's something we're going to be addressing. We don't lack space. The housing boom of 2008 made sure, not sorry, 2008, but the housing of 2008 and the mad dash of building that led up to it left us with an abundance of housing. Not the right kind of housing for what we need right now, but enough housing. So that would be our first step coming out of this pandemic. We'll be looking at the communities that were hardest hit by all of this, shoring up their infrastructure, getting their medical facilities up to standard, and then moving out from there. But we start in the hardest hit communities. When it comes to the fires in California, it's the same thing. Finding safe evacuation zones, making sure the firefighters have enough support there, finding ways to prevent the fires from being so bad. We can't prevent the fires. I mean, that's part of the nature, part of the habitat, part of the ecology of the region, the fires. The forests that everybody loves require them in order to grow. So it's not about stopping the wildfires. It's about learning to manage them. And in the communities where people live, where the smoke hits the hardest, building better housing. When it comes to the areas hit by the hurricanes and the tropical storms, similar. I have this idea for a sister city program or a partner city program, where essentially larger city agrees to have an evacuation zone for smaller surrounding towns in event of emergency. So it's not a question of where people are going to go. It's a question of how quickly we can get them there. Same with the coastal cities. I know that is a lot of ridiculous amounts of people, but that's part of the rail restructuring plan that I have in mind. The infrastructure remodeling program that I have in mind for railroad and energy distributions throughout our nation. If we get the rail systems up to snuff, moving a city in the event of an emergency will be a lot easier than it is now. Freedom of movement is definitely something that we need to maintain in the American infrastructure and the way that we run our nation. When it comes to emergencies, we need to have fast, orderly ways of getting folks out of there. How many times have disasters happened in cities and the roads out are clogged with streets and things, right? That's where the rail system comes in. Then after we get the coastal cities where they need to, and we get evacuations done, we start with the rivers that flood the most, communities that get flooded the most. We rework their levees. We rework the systems, and if we have to reroute rivers, we might have to reroute rivers. I'm not saying we should push to do that. I'm not saying that we should relocate people to do that. But if we sit down and we look at it as a nation, look at a plan as a nation, and look at how those, and we look at those plans and we say, this will save lives. This will prevent hardship. This will make a better standard of living affected by it. Then we go forward, not before. The pipeline issue, I understand the need to secure resources, to secure distribution routes and things, but I think I've been vocal enough about that. There's a lot of Native brothers and sisters out there, and two spirits amongst them that have had some thoughts about how we should be handling sorts of things that have been overridden by people that have more voting power than they do, which is ridiculous. I understand that the native peoples are sovereign nations into and of themselves, but the fact of the matter is this is their nation more than it was ours. Yes, we are the descendants of the people that took it. We are not the people that took the nation. We took these lands from the first peoples here. We are not them. We are responsible. We are here now. What we need to do is to honor the treaties that the people that came before us made. And if those treaties for some reason cannot be honored, then we find ways of writing new treaties. We guarantee that every Native American, every Native to this nation has a vote, has representation in the Congress, has the ability to make it to the role of commander in chief. Think about that. Native people were key to the victory in World War II that everybody is so proud of. We have a lot of work to do. That's the beautiful thing about this nation, about this country, about the people that live in it. That we're the survivors, man. This nation, country has been in conflict since its birth, and we are the survivors. So what would I do if I were president? I'd get all the survivors together and show the world what it means to live, to survive, to overcome some of the greatest obstacles that history has ever thrown at a people. We have a digital world that is growing around us that we need to figure out how to manage, not destroy. We have a world with weapons capable of snuffing out everything in moments. But those same technologies can be used to light homes. Those same technologies can be used to connect people all over the world. I mean, look at the way that I'm talking to everybody right now, addressing everybody, but never gets seen. You know, I've spent these past few weeks scrolling through the internet's the TikToky thing, trying to suss out. It's like, what's the appeal of this app? What is it about this app that makes people in power so afraid of it? What is it about this app that we can learn from it and get our digital legislation in order? But the thing is that while scrolling through that app, I was seeing people from everywhere that I could send a message to and say, "Hi, day, what language do you speak?" Any question that occurs to me or occurs to anybody else. But yeah, man, technology is amazing. It's dangerous, but it is amazing. We know it's dangerous. We've seen its dangers. The world knows the dangers. We have to learn to do. So we have to learn how to take those dangerous things and turn them into safe things. Got a lot of work to do. We'll get there. I have faith. I do have faith. Faith is not tied to any one religion. Faith isn't even tied to religion. Faith is an idea. Faith is a feeling. Faith is a hope. Faith is a belief that there are people working towards something better. Faith is knowing that there are people out there that if you need help, they will help you. That is faith. It's not tied to a religion. It's not tied to a deity. It's not tied to anything like that. Faith is hope. Hope is what we have. A better America is what we're working towards. I'm going to go ahead and end this transmission here. Kind of start pulling my office back together after the past couple 3 weeks of just living in it and trying to get, not trying, but basically screwing my head back on straight, man. Still got a little bit of work there to do because I got some folks I still need to talk to. But I'm ready. Sometimes I wish I weren't ready. Sometimes I wish I wasn't able to do, I wasn't capable. Because I wouldn't be driven to do this, to make this attempt, to consider the attempt in 20. Anyway, I haven't seen the polls yet. I don't actually know who's won or lost. I'm just going on hypotheticals. That's what I've got for you, America. Message of hope. To let you know we've got a lot of hard work to do before we get where we need to be. A lot of it. You guys stay safe. I'll try to do the same. If I can, I'll help you guys stay safe too. In transmission.